Hello, everybody. Let me just start this stream by giving everyone watching a crisp fuck you. Fuck you, person who's watching. Fuck you, other person who's watching. Fuck you, Skylar. You're in the video. Fuck you. Definitely fuck you. Yeah. Pat, you're awesome, and I feel like you'll hurt me if I say fuck you. Especially because right now there's art of you on screen where you're the Hulk, and that's scary. Yeah.
No, I have other people take care of the hurting for me, so you just have to be careful. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, fuck you. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to a little Marvel Talks episode. Me and Pat wanted to keep talking about stuff, and Skylar had a free day, and that Netherealm's fighting game rumor is still a thing, and we all like fighting games, so we figured, hey, you know what? Why not get naked and do a video? And then no one got naked but me, and it's sad, but we're here. Are you naked?
You don't know.
Pat, are you naked?
Possibly.
Alright, maybe we got a party here. I don't know.
I'm pantsless. I got the shirt on, but that might change.
As long as you have access to your penile extremities, that's all I care about.
A sausage party is still a party.
That's true. That is, by the most technical of all definitions, true. So before we get started, I feel like it's not even like everybody's got their own little story, but I think we should all talk a little bit about where we come from here. What is our opinions of Marvel, and then what is our opinions, I guess, of Netherealms a little bit. If you guys want, I can go first, but if not, we can start with you, Pat.
My opinion on Marvel and Netherealm.
Yes, I'm sure you have very little opinions on Marvel altogether, so just let them out.
I mean, the obvious thing is that I love Marvel. That's obvious. But
Is it?
I don't believe you. I think you're lying. Marvel.
Obvious.
It's not like that's literally, I think, every time we talk to each other, I think literally that comes up at some point.
Yeah. Well, the big
Marvel.
thing is, the three of us, Skylar, I think a little less than me and Pat, but even Skylar as well, we're all comic readers. So the way the MCU fucking works is if you're a comic reader, you kind of know the future. So, talking about it is cool.
Yeah. It's like that, or you'll be that person in the theater or wherever where someone shows up and they say a name, and you'll be the first person out of everyone go, I know that person.
That's a cool name.
But you'll be the first person. Yeah, you'll be the first person to react before everyone else starts learning who it is.
Oh yeah.
I feel, now that I say that real quick, I feel like Thanos was like that at first, because people at first had no idea who he was.
Oh yeah.
When first time they ever showed him.
That's true. The Infinity Saga, while very popular amongst comic people, wasn't in the cartoons back then. Now it's fucking everywhere.
I think the first time I saw the Infinity Saga in a cartoon was the Superhero Squad show.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
And that had Dr. Doom in it as the main bad guy.
Jim Cummings was in that as Thanos. It was weird. I kind of loved it. I grew up on the comic books. Well, not even the comic books. I grew up on the cartoons, and then I transitioned into the comic books as an adult. Pat, you've brought it up. Spider-Man the animated series was my life.
Yeah.
And then Spectacular Spider-Man and
that is I guess I could say that too. I'm kind of I'm actually curious. I don't think I know from either of you. How did the whole Marvel love start? I know you just said, Neil's the cartoons, but
like us?
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead, Sky. You can go first.
For me, probably my dad. My dad got me into a lot of the stuff I'm into. my dad is a big comic book reader, and he had comics of his own that he said basically these are yours whenever you grow up or whenever I go. These are yours, and he let me read them, and I was like, these are really cool. And like, there was the point where I was like, oh, Spider-Man's awesome. He looks cool. A lot of cool characters in there. And then it was also like the first Spider-Man movie. I remember it clearly.
Mm.
We went to go see it at the drive-in here in Winchester, and it that day we were letting off fireworks on the road, as you do in the country. Just because we didn't want to take it to the back, my dad was letting off fireworks for some reason. Because it came out in like July of something, I think. August.
It was the summer. It was most definitely the summer.
Summer. But I remember because we let fireworks off, and this car tried to come down the road directly as we lit one, and it went off before that, and then the car went over. My dad kind of tackled me to get me out of the road. I was 5.
Right after Spider-Man.
And right before Spider-Man, actually. It was the middle of the day.
How did they not see you if it was the middle of the day?
It's the country, Kneale. They speed down that road all the time. But I remember it clearly because we both got a little banged up. I got cut my palms a little bit. Got a little bit of scrapes on my palms. And my dad, he got worse. So he was shirtless, of course, because my dad was always shirtless, and he wore shorts all the time and a bandana. This is back when he had long hair too. But he got his gut got cut up, and we went to see Spider-Man, and at the drive-in, my sister went out on the road trying to look for my dad's skin because she's weird like that.
That is very weird.
And then it was a very eventful day. The second movie that was showing, I believe, was White Chicks. And my other sister got us kicked out because she got into a fight with a couple of school people.
At the drive-in?
So, yeah, at the drive-in. Got us kicked out during the second movie.
But you got to see Spider-Man, which matters.
But I got to see Spider-Man.
My story is similar. I weirdly enough, me and Skylar have actually talked about this. It's very possible we were both there at the same night in the drive-in, because I was at that same drive-in when I saw Spider-Man, and after that, Spider-Man, it was the first look at this superhero. And of course, after that, I was like, oh, I want to learn more. So I started watching the cartoons because they were on TV, and I learned about Captain America. I learned about Iron Man. I then eventually, through the cartoons, noticed this guy in a purple suit, and I was like, I like the color purple. I'm gonna look into this dude. His name was Hawkeye, and I then ended up watching him in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where he was great. I ended up reading some comics about him. I actually, I grew up in a situation where I didn't have a dad, and I kind of had an abusive parent. So the stories about Clint Barton dealing with very similar things actually really hit me right when I needed them to hit me, and I love the character. I adore the character. It is my favorite fictional character ever created. I am obsessed with Clint Barton Hawkeye, and I will go to the end of my days loving it. But that being said, I love all things Marvel. The MCU is the closest thing I have to a religion. It is legit so important to me that Pat does this too. I stay up every night before an episode's coming out. I stay up till 3 in the morning, and then I watch it at 3 in the morning, and I have never once regretted doing that because I get to see the episode a little early, which is the best. Do you have a story of starting out in an all, Pat?
I do. I think mine started with the X-Men animated series.
That
Oh,
was a really good one.
The one
Very
with
good.
the class, everyone knows that team. Yeah, that. Because it was funny, like me. See, I don't. It's funny because I don't even know why, but me and my dad watched it, and I don't know if he was in the comics. I would assume so.
Mhm.
Because that wasn't the type of show you would just a parent would just watch with their kid. I don't think.
My dad did.
I mean,
Like,
X-Men is really
like
good.
unless you liked it, you were into it before.
Oh, of course.
The thing is,
But-
my dad, like one of his favorite heroes is Wolverine. His actual favorite is Thor. So I mean, it's Thor and Wolverine, and then you got like the X-Men and the like some of the Avengers shows that me and my dad would always watch together.
And
Mhm.
there was that. I remember I got I think I still have them actually. There's these X-Men trading cards.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, did you guys ever get the Spider-Man trading cards where it's just scenes from the movie, but some of them would be shiny? I collected those briefly.
I got the Star Wars ones.
Those
Like
were,
the
I
Star
remember those.
in
or,
hindsight, those were shit because they're literally just images from the movie. But I
yeah,
wanted
they're
them
really bad.
so bad. Oh, Lord in heaven. So I happen to know that like you really like Hulk. Pat, when did like I've sort of told about why Hawkeye really appealed to me. When did Hulk? When did you know Hulk was your favorite?
Actually, that actually has to do with my mother.
Oh,
Because I still do love it. Her and I would watch the old '70s live action Hulk show.
Oh,
The one
no shit.
with Lou Ferrigno, yes. And that show's cheesy as fuck, but I still love it. But that is,
it's easy. The only thing you'd ever see him do is pick up a trash can and throw it, maybe.
yeah. But then I think it went from that to I think I saw some of the old cartoon that he had as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then that went to I don't like it now. Well, kind of do. The original Hulk movie. I kind of do, kind of don't. You know,
I
the
liked
Ang
some
Lee
of
one.
it.
Hmm.
Like the tank scene was really cool.
And
Oh,
The,
I
the
liked the
helicopter
Hulk.
scene.
Yeah, I liked the Hulk video game that came with that one.
Yeah, that was interesting. I like being able to play as Banner. The Banner missions are
so
really fucking awesome.
so just so I'm clear, which Hulk we
Yeah,
talking? We're talking about the MCU Hulk or the one where he like punches dogs in the dick?
the Ang Lee, the one where he punches dogs.
I see.
That's
I don't
Hulk.
like
Yeah, that was then they made a game of that. The game was better than the movie was, but
Oh yeah. The game actually had like several Hulk villains in it. That was a really good one.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm very excited for She-Hulk because, like, in my opinion, the two characters that have some of the better rogues galleries, like, you know how, like, with DC, Batman has, like, an amazing rogues gallery, but then you look over to, like Flash, and it's like, oh, Flash has some pretty good characters, too. Friggin' Hulk has an awesome rogues gallery. He really does. And Avengers Are Mightiest Heroes really exemplified that. Like, really played with that. I fucking love Hulk. I can't wait to see more
One of
from
my
him.
favorite.
Hmm?
One of my favorite Hulk games was Hulk Ultimate Destruction, which actually was also like in development right around the same time they were writing the Incredible Hulk, which
I
is I just said Elvis.
I accidentally just played Elvis's stream. Well, technically it's my friend Zoe's stream, but Elvis is in it, so
But
go on.
it was in the same. It was in production around the same time as Hulk, Incredible Hulk, and that's why whenever I watched Incredible Hulk, I was like, "Hang on, he just did the thing that he does in the game." Like the scene where he picks up that car and he like breaks it in half, and then he punches his fists together with them on his hands. That was a thing he did in that game. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. And then he took the chain. He used the chain as a weapon in the game too. A lot of the stuff he did in that like that last scene against Abomination was similar to what he did in Incredible in the Hulk Ultimate Destruction, which Abomination was like the main bad guy in that one.
Since you're speaking anyways, Sky, we might as well go on to you. I know you like Deadpool and Moon Knight, but like, is there a particular reason why both stood out to you over the others? Like, I literally dressed you up in this picture as kind of like Mr. Knight. I even put a little bird on your head, so go on, speak.
We have one of my best friends from childhood. Before I even became great friends with you, Kneale.
Yeah.
You know Tristan. I know you know Tristan. He
Big
was one of
Cyclops guy.
Oh yeah, he was real big into Cyclops. It was interesting too because we used to hang out all the time. We don't ever see him anymore. I want to hang out with him again and see how he's been. But I used to hang out with him all the time, and we would play games and stuff together. One of the games we played through together, and we fucking adored that game, was Hulk, or not Hulk, fucking Ultimate Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. And Ultimate Alliance was the first time I ever saw Deadpool. I saw him hanging out in the character select screen. I was like, "Who is that?" And he's like, "That's Deadpool." He's like, it's like an assassin sort of, but he was like in Weapon X, and I was like, "That's really cool. I want to learn more about this guy." And then he started making jokes, and I was like, "Okay, this guy's awesome." And then I also thought he looked cool because he was like a ninja and he had katanas and shit. And then Moon Knight, ironically as well, was also because of Ultimate Alliance. Because he showed up on one of the Tristan had it on PlayStation 2, which Moon Knight was only unlockable in the Xbox version, which was weird.
I gotta mute my fucking phone. I'm an idiot.
But for some reason, they still left the loading screen that had Moon Knight on it on the PlayStation version. So every now and then the loading screen would just show Moon Knight on there. I'm like, dude, that guy looks freaking awesome. Who is that? And I'm like, he's like, that's Moon Knight. He's like it's like basically Batman, but Marvel, but cooler. And like, I was like, okay, well, that's my dad if he knows who that is. And my dad was like, yeah, I know who that is. He's got like, it's like kind of like powered by the moon and stuff, and like somewhat talismans, sort of.
He's
But I
friends
don't
with
know.
gods.
Yeah, I learned more about Moon Knight than my dad even knew, because my dad only knew of him. He didn't know much about him. Moon Knight and Deadpool were both because of Ultimate Alliance, and then my third favorite Marvel character, Venom, is just because I've loved Spider-Man, and I thought Venom was just fucking awesome. The teeth look really cool. He's just like really spooky compared to like a lot of your typical villain, you know. He just, I kind of like the horror kind of creepy aspect, which would have been cool to see if they did like instead of like an action movie. It would have been cooler if it was like a horror movie. That would have been kind of cool. I'm interested to see how the next Venom movie goes.
I don't know if I love that they're doing this odd couple thing with them, but
yeah, the movie was cool anyway. Like the Venom movie was cool. Deadpool is probably my favorite movie ever. They're fantastic, both of them. My favorite scene in the Venom movie was when he catches the smoke grenade and snaps it, and the tongue comes out. Like that's Venom right there. That was Venom, and that's the movie come to life. And I was like that, or the comic come to life. And I was like that's awesome. Because it looked like it was straight off the comic covers.
I think when it comes to the MCU, and this is the last Marvel thing we can say before we go into like friggin' Netherrealms for a little bit before we actually start talking about the game. What I think I love most about Marvel is how friggin'. First of all, I love the little Easter eggs. I love the setting up. I love how they have effectively made people comic book fans through movies. But also, I just love how human all the characters are. Like, there's this one Hawkeye comic I remember reading where Wolverine and Spider-Man, Wolverine's like a hard ass, Wolverine and Spider-Man are talking about a show they both watched. I think it's called Dog Cops or something. And Wolverine's like, hey, did you see the last episode? And Peter's just like, oh, it's so freaking good. And Hawkeye plugs his ears because there are spoilers. But he has the whole season on, like, DVR, so he, like, actually leaves hanging out with them to go watch it. And I was like, that's so fucking human. Like, that's so cool. And in the MCU, you constantly get shit like that. Like, Clint calling out Thor and trying to lift the hammer. Again, all of the scenes between Thor and Captain America are usually pretty, like, that whole thing of, like, huh, what are these weird little human things doing? And then fucking Captain America comes in to be like, I'm your equal, bitch, I'll lift your fucking hammer. Like, I think some of the most iconic scenes in the MCU are just the conversations. Like, I think a great example is when Natasha is talking to Clint, and they're in a car, and they're just talking about redecorating Clint's kitchen while they're firing arrows at each other. You see great shit with Captain America in that regard. Tony Stark and Peter having those moments of just talking to each other. I love it. Doctor Strange and Tony are the best at this, especially with the whole saving your world douchebag thing. Like, I love that aspect of the MCU because I feel like that's so comic book. But speaking of interactions that may or may not happen right before people fight, how do we feel about Netherrealms? Do we like them? Do we hate them? Do we want to smooch them? What do we think?
My personal feelings on like NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat in general. I've always been a big fan of Mortal Kombat because ever since like my first real big console was the N64, and I had Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which was like a mismatch like a mixed match of the first three games put into one console by one cartridge. And it was really fun because they had so many characters and like it was just super fun. And I've always loved Mortal Kombat just because some of the characters, like I always remember playing as Liu Kang and just hearing doing the bicycle kicking bullshit. Then Raiden just flying across the screen, Noob Saibot just slamming somebody up and down repeatedly. But I've played those games since they came out, pretty much. I had a bit of a break from the series right after Apocalypse or Armageddon because Armageddon was fantastic. Probably the best Mortal Kombat in my opinion, just because of the amount of characters and how awesome it was. So much variety in the game. And then I couldn't play them because I didn't have the console to play them for a while. I didn't get an Xbox 360 until like nearly when the Xbox One came out. And then the Injustice games, I don't remember. I think I borrowed Injustice 1 from somebody and played it through. It might have been Tristan.
I know you and me did a couple matches. I remember because I played Harley Quinn. I can't remember who you played, but in Injustice 1 and 2, Harley ended up becoming my main.
In Injustice, I'm really good as Arrow and Nightwing.
Green Arrow?
Yeah. Also, Catwoman was fantastic in the first game, and then they took away her whip tail, which was super cool and a fucking brilliant idea. I was really mad in the second game when they were like, hey, you can't have the cat tail whip. Like, her whip was a cat tail. It was cool. It was a cool idea. But I liked Injustice a lot. And then, again, console generation skip. I didn't get my PS4 until like 2 years ago, like maybe a year and a half ago. And now I'm behind again, another console shift. Even then, like I remember coming over to your house because you had a PlayStation 4 and you played Mortal Kombat X. And I remember we played a bunch of that because I was like, Predator's in that. And you're like, Jason's in it. And that was when you got into your horror movie kick for a while.
Oh yeah, I now I have Netherealms mostly to thank for making it where I can watch horror movies. Netherealm and the Nostalgia Critic combined. The Nostalgia Critic making fun of horror movies, and Netherealm celebrating them. The two things combined, and I was able to get over my big fear of scary movies. And I now love Ghostface. I love Jason. I love me a good slasher. But
Yeah.
Sir Patrick, I know you play Injustice a lot. How do you feel about Netherrealms? Because for me personally, I like Netherrealms a lot, but sometimes it feels like, what are you doing, guys? What are you doing?
Well, I decided to look them up, and I didn't realize this. They've only been around for, as of now, 10 years, 11
Mhm.
years.
I think they started
And that,
whenever they did MK9.
because
Yeah.
they've done that in the Injustice games, and like that's basically about it. But I think I've played everything they've put out, and I've enjoyed them. So, I mean, including I see not saying I'm trying to figure out which of the Mortal Kombat they've made is my favorite.
I
I-
I like 11, but I also
Mhm.
like X. It's probably either 11 or X for me. 9's really good though.
I think I don't know. I gotta say, I'm with you. I think I really liked X.
I mean,
That-
I think X was just cool. X was
Mhm.
just so cool. I do think I like Injustice better than Mortal Kombat though, because
Mhm.
I love Marvel, but I love DC too, and it's really fucking. Did you have a main in Injustice? My main in Mortal Kombat X was Jason. My main in Mortal Kombat 11 is Jade. Do you have anybody for the Injustice games?
God. I don't know. I just
Do, 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 do. You can think about it if you want. You can think about it and then come back to this.
Hmm.
But there's a rumor going on right now that
Mhm.
the two worlds are combining. There's an actual chance that we could perhaps see a Marvel NetherRealm style fighting game,
Mhm.
which would be dope. I don't want to understate that enough. That would be really fucking cool. Do we think it's real? Okay, before I even read through the opposed leaked roster, because I am going to do that. Do you want this to be real? Do you think it would be real? Because I gotta be real. I want this to be I want this to happen. I do.
Mhm.
But I also thought about it. And if it did end up being Marvel versus DC, that's what the fighting game was, I don't want that. I would actively hate that. Because I feel like if you're going to do a fighting game, there's only so much room on that roster. Either A, do a DC fighting game, or B, do a fucking Marvel fighting game. Don't try to slap them together. Focus on one roster. What do you guys think? Do you want this to be real, or are you like fuck you idea? Dang.
I mean, if it is real, I'd rather it be just the Marvel fighting game,
Agreed.
just because DC's had their turn.
Oh yeah, and they'll have it again. There will be an Injustice 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say I that's I almost guarantee you there will be. Like that, there's no way they win it.
I would enjoy the
Mhm.
game if it did end up happening. I don't expect it to happen, but if it does,
Mhm.
I would be pretty happy because I like the fluidity of how those games play. Also,
Mhm.
sometimes the format's pretty cool. The stories can kind of sometimes falter, but I mean, who cares? It's a fighting game.
Seeing those characters and those graphics would be pretty fucking neat.
Yeah, and sometimes the costumes look cool, like Catwoman's tail whip.
Are you okay? Are you gonna recover
Yeah,
from this?
I like that design.
It's a good design. Um, I'm with you. I like the story of all of like. Honestly, this is kind of a hot opinion. I think after Mortal Kombat 9, the stories just progressively got worse. And I like the story of the other Mortal Kombat games. But Mortal Kombat 9 was just really good. And Injustice 2, like, I don't know, it didn't feel grand enough to me. Like, Injustice 1 felt really big and really cool, and Injustice 2 just sort of felt like more Injustice. Which I'm okay with. Because it's really good, and honestly, I'm not in a fucking fighting game for the story. But that being said, I like it to have a good story. But the most important thing about a fighting game is the characters. So let's just read through this, and we'll say if we like. I'll just read all of the names out loud, and we can say if there's anybody here we want to talk about specifically, like talk about the moveset for, or alternatively talk about why the fuck they're in here. So you want to stop me while I'm reading it, go ahead. But afterwards, or just hold the name in your head, and afterwards we'll talk about it. So if this leak, which very well might not be true, but it's a good place to start either way. If this leak is true, then we can expect to see Captain America, shock of all shocks, he might be in it, Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Wolverine, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Groot, and Rocket has a duo character, Blade, Gamora, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, Gambit, Shang-Chi, Kitty Pryde, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic, Hulk, and Scar. Now, moving forward, there's a couple more left. This is where shit starts to get a little weird. Dr. Octopus, Blob, Mojo, Bullseye, Mephisto, Dakin, who is actually Wolverine's son, Arnim Zola, Venom, the Abomination, Deacon Frost, who is a Blade villain, and Madame Mask, who is like, she's essentially, it's hard to describe, honestly, but she's just kind of like, she's one of those thuggy villains who's usually a crime lord. And there would also be DLC, and we won't talk about the guest character who is on this DLC yet, because that will have its own section. But it does say that there would be a pre-order bonus of Deadpool. The first DLC will include Daredevil, Cyclops, and I'll talk about this one because I think it's fucking stupid, Raiden from Mortal Kombat. So of all those characters, and there were some weird ones like Blob, Mojo, and Bullseye, was there any name you heard that you held on to where you would want to talk about a moveset or whether or not you want them in? What you got, Pat? Throw it at me. Hit me in the theoretical dick with this.
Not really. Well, this is more like, it's more of like kind of like, okay, that's odd. Though I don't know why the Gambit that sticks out to me. I'm like, does anyone else feel that's kind of like, huh? Where did he come? Like, wait.
I think Gambit's a cool character. I think he fits in a fighting game.
It's because he does stuff with cards, so they want to
Yeah.
do cool stuff with that. Which I mean, I'm not mad at that.
That and I think the bow staff is a cool
Yeah.
weapon to play around with, as well as
Mhm.
like maybe using like the cards as like a revolving like armor kind of thing, kind of like you've seen
Yeah.
it with like the swarm of bats thing that Batman had in Injustice 1.
Yeah.
It also feels like one of those things where like the Netherealm devs were probably like, oh, this is such a cool character and it really fits. Like, you know, they have Jade. And they did a moveset for like Zatanna. I believe Zatanna was like a magician. I think she used cards. Which, by the way, I fucking love Zatanna. She was one of my favorite characters in that game, and she's one of my favorite DC characters. I love Zatanna. But I think that maybe they're like, okay, so there are some things we've dealt with here before. Gambit could theoretically be familiar ground.
Mm-hmm.
I think when reading through the characters that like I'm the most like, what the fuck is going on with this? Is like weirdly enough Blob. Because like with Dr. Octopus, I get it. You need to put a Spider-Man villain in there. I get it. With Mephisto, I kind of even get it because like, you know, the people know who that is now. It could work. Blob is such a weird choice when you look at all the other X-Men they got. Like, if we're going strictly by X-Men, you got Wolverine, you got Gambit, and then Kitty Pryde, which is a weird choice in and of herself, but I guess it could be cool to have a character who, like, has a little pet dragon and has, like, you know, her abilities to go through people. But with Blob, at best, that's just a strong character. Like, that's just, like, why not put in someone like Juggernaut? Like, did you really need a bigger character so bad that you were like, Blob? I just don't understand the appeal there, but maybe one of you guys can correct me, but is there anything specifically about Blob where it's like better than a Juggernaut or better than like, I don't know, a Red Hulk or something? What am I missing here? Is there anything?
He might be more kind of like Solomon Grundy in the Injustice game. Because Solomon Grundy had like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he had like some sort of regenerating factor at some point in one of his moves.
I think that's a thing.
I think he had like some sort of way to regenerate a little bit. And I feel like Blob might have that due to like whatever fucking blubber he has. I don't know. Which might be useful, I guess. And I guess like body slams are a thing. Maybe they're going for like an E Honda route where you can just body slam people and throw them over your shoulder.
I mean, that's possible.
Whistler kind of move set.
I just don't like. I understand you're like, oh, we need another X-Men, so maybe that's why Blob was chosen. But even then, if you just look at the X-Men, I think there are plenty of other characters that could have filled this role of a big, strong guy. You could add Juggernaut. You could add Colossus. Like, I just feel weird that they looked at the X-Men and were like, oh, the giant fat guy, him, he's in our fighting game. Though, to be fair, I'm like, you know, I'm open to it. Maybe he'll play really cool. Like, I do find that characters that are just strong, NetherRealm does usually seem to do well with them. Like, Bane's really good in Injustice. Frickin' Ferrator from Mortal Kombat X was always fun. I'm not against the idea of Blob. I'm just like, I'm confused by it. Like, Mojo is weird. Mojo is just... Doesn't he have, like, spider legs, or he's always in a chair and some shit? I don't even remember Mojo. He's like, that's two big fat guys. Mojo is also a big fat guy. I'm not trying to be anti-fat guy, but two. And this is coming from a fat guy. Damn.
I'm just glad they didn't put MODOK in it.
Now I want MODOK. I want to spite you.
You.
I mean, you're set up here because Deadpool's one of your favorite characters. If this is
Mhm.
true, Deadpool's the pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
Friggin' Venom's one of your favorite characters. He's here. And friggin' Moon Knight. Like, honestly, from a
All three
release,
of my big series.
part of me is like, this list is fake, but another part of me is like, why are some of these characters here if it's not real? Because, you know, when you're putting in characters like Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Black Panther, you're trying to, like, convince people that your list is real if you're fake. So, like, with characters like that in Spider-Man, it seems like they're trying to convince you that they're real, those characters make sense. But then when you get to, like, Dakin and Arnim Zola, those are characters that would actively hurt your case if it's not real. And because of that, that almost makes me think it's real. Because why include these, like, first of all, characters not a lot of people know, but also just these weird choice characters that feel like it either A, came from somebody who didn't know much about comic books and were just putting down names, or B, it came from people who actually chose people based on whether or not they would have cool moves. And while I don't necessarily think that a character like, for example, fucking Scar is that well known, I think like a kid version of Hulk with a sword could be a cool character. I don't know though. You guys got anyone else you want to talk to? Maybe characters you want to go into the moveset for hopes of shit they'd have? Like I assume you want Hulk to get angry in this game, right, Pat? I can
He's
assume
just
that.
it's just Professor Hulk, and he's just like, Hulk smash, I guess.
I am Hulk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like what's her name?
Black
Kitty
Widow.
Pryde's the one with the pet. No, Kitty Pryde's the one with the pet dragon, isn't she?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like the dragon will be involved in her like finisher thing somehow.
I feel like he's probably going to be pretty useful.
I'm thinking
Maybe.
Dexstar.
Lockheed is really like he's honestly one of the cooler parts about Kitty Pryde's character, in my opinion. But I mean, I don't know that much about Kitty Pryde. I just know she's pretty popular in the X-Men community.
I mean, literally, like, the image that's currently on stream is characters we hope will be in, which we'll be talking about in a second. And I think that with Kitty Pryde, like, I kind of wanted a character, like, I put Ghost on here. And I put Ghost on there because Ghost is an Iron Man villain. But Vision could also, like, fill this void. I kind of wanted a character that could, like, phase through other characters and attack them that way. And I feel like Ghost was a cool choice for that. Kitty seems to be their answer for that. Kitty Pryde's whole power is she can run through walls. She can, like, go transparent. She can, like, go through shit. And that's such a weird choice for a fighting game, but it could be really cool. I'm hopeful for Kitty Pryde. And I hope that fucking dragon does show up, Pat. I hope you're right. I'm just imagining the supers for some of these characters. Like, I feel like with a character like Iron Man or Thor, we're gonna see some cool shit. Also, just to bash Raiden just a little bit more, Thor already has lightning. What the fuck is Raiden even gonna do? What? Thor has a hammer and lightning.
Fucking make fun of him if he isn't him. Just because that's how Thor is, he's going to make fun of another lightning god.
I mean, I hope so, man. What do we think about Groot and Rocket being a duo character?
I think it works because then you can have a little bit more versatility rather than just big guns or plants.
Yes, instead it is big guns, big plants.
Yeah.
I do. I wonder if there's going to be a switch function where, like, there are two separate characters, but you can switch into them. Or if it's literally going to be you're playing as Groot, Rocket's on the shoulder, and some of the attacks involve Rocket.
I'm assuming it's that one, kind of like how Third and Thor are.
I mean, I'm not against that, but I like Rocket's, like, space guns.
Who knows? Maybe he's more likely as an attack than you'd think.
Maybe.
I think it would be cool to see how that's worked out, because perhaps Groot's like the kick button and Rocket's all the punch buttons.
That's
Or the
not
other way.
impossible. I mean, the ending... I wonder what the super is for those characters. Do you go, like, really cool and make it, like, similar to the scene from Guardians of the Galaxy where Rocket is on Groot's shoulder and they're just firing the guns and it's so cool? Or do you go, like, the funny route and have them, like, play music and dance?
Or both.
I mean, it could be a not multi-part, but kind of like that's usually how Netherealm does like finishers, where there's kind of, especially in the Injustice games, where they have kind of like a, like you'll hit them with something first, and then here comes the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know why, I could just picture Groot, like their things. Groot throws Rocket at whoever it is. Rocket like smacks them around a bit, and then whatever the big thing is happens next.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, they could do something. Maybe Groot just grows out his arms and does what he did in one of the movies, where he just swings them back and forth and slams people into the walls.
I definitely think Groot should have, like, a super long grab, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate to keep comparing it, but I expect Groot would get some of Swamp Thing's moves. Although, that could still make it interesting, because, like, if on the shoulder you have, like imagine if Deadshot and fucking Swamp Thing were the same character. That could be neat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking on this list. How would Moon Knight work? Because I assume he'd be, like, a gadget guy, but also, like, Moon? Where does the moon come in?
That is a good question, because it really depends on which version of Moon Knight you pick as well, because there are some that lean more on the moon power kind of side of things, and then there's a few that lean more on the gadget side of things. Like the Fist of Khonshu is a little bit more on the gadget side, which, ironically enough, most of those gadgets came from Hawkeye, because Hawkeye made him gadgets for some reason, because they were friends. So they could do. He too can have a bow staff, because sometimes he uses a bow staff. He's also got his moon rings, or his moon darts, as they're sometimes called, because I think moon rings was a little too on the number.
Crescent rings.
Yeah, the crescent rings or the moon rings. Yeah, crescent darts, moon darts. They're all the same. Then you could also lean into, like, the more moon-based things, where he could, like, maybe manipulate the moon if it's, like, some sort of, like, maybe, like, it just so happens to be nighttime anytime he's fighting or something. I don't know. Like, and it powers him up, because he's and some of them he's stronger at night because of the moon. Stronger when the moon's fuller.
His super has to involve, like, a full moon and, like, Khonshu coming down, right?
I would assume Khonshu would probably show up.
It's got to be, like, Khonshu.
It also might be interesting.
Fuck you.
It might also be kind of interesting to see if we get to see his, like, other personas, because at one point he thought he was Wolverine and Spider-Man. I think it was weird.
That could come up in the dialogue. Like, if this is real, it could be like Spider-Man's like, "Are you telling people you're me?" And then he could reply, "I am Spider-Man." And he'd be like, "Oh, shut up, Mark."
It's like, or like that was a long time ago, man. I was going through some things.
Again, I need dialogue of Tony Stark and Clint Barton talking about fixing his VCR.
Yeah.
I think Moon Knight will be cool. I think Moon Knight's a smart play for them. I'm looking at this. I think it's so weird. Tell me if you think this makes sense. I think it's so weird that Daredevil is DLC, but Bullseye, a Daredevil villain, appears to be an actual character in the default roster. I don't get that. I guess we could end this discussion on: do you think this list is real or fake? What I guess talk about the whole Bullseye thing a little bit, but do you think this is real? Pat, we'll start with you.
I feel like it is real, but maybe not exactly as it says. Like maybe some of the DLC characters will not be, and they'll just be in the game.
It's still
Or or some of the main characters might be DLC. Because I almost feel like someone like Mojo or even Blob, I feel like they'd be like one of those add-on ones. Because they don't seem like they'd be main. Maybe one of them, but
I think it could be real. It also could be something they're talking about having. And then these are the characters they brought up that they might want to put in there to say hey, maybe we have interest in these characters. Maybe we want some interest in these characters to be had. Somebody trying to come up kind of like a negotiation thing. We'll put these characters in there so people can get excited about these certain characters that you don't see very often anymore.
Yeah.
Or things like that. And plus, I think with Dakin, I feel like he is kind of one of those characters who the fuck is Dakin? But even I completely forgot who he was. And then I think he could be another Wolverine's probably gonna be a more slashy based kind of guy, but he also probably gonna have his his typical I'm gonna stab you kind of thing, And then Dakin, I feel might be a little bit more stabby. And then maybe they're splitting up Baraka's moveset a little bit.
Not
Because
possible.
I think Baraka's moveset would be a fairly good pick for either one of them, really, because Baraka's very similar. I think it's partially let's pick characters that we think could have cool movesets, and then characters that we like, and then characters that are not so often you hear about them. And then there's also ones that hey, these movesets already match a few things that we've sort of worked with in the past. Let's try to make them a little better. And then there's also the fact that maybe Marvel wants to get the attention on some of these characters. If it is real. I don't know.
Moon Knight definitely falls in that category.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the thing. I've gone back and forth on this. I think there could be some truth to it. I think this list is probably fake. Because in the end, I think what it really came down to is there are some noticeable names here who are missing. I think the biggest one is Doctor Strange. I don't know how you go into a Marvel fighting game and not do Doctor Strange. I don't understand that. And honestly, I think when it comes to Injustice has a ton of Batman villains in it because everybody knows the Batman villains. So I'm a little surprised there's only 2 Spider-Man villains in this.
They also seem to have a lot of X-Men characters.
I mean, that's true.
So, the excitement for maybe bringing mutants into the MCU.
Yeah, if I were to count it, so far there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 X-Men characters here. making
Fun.
it the most represented series. And if you count Mojo as an X-Men villain, I believe there's 8.
Hmm.
Look, I like this list. If this was the roster, I'd be okay with it.
Hmm.
I mean, we're going to talk about other characters we want in. I think there's one big one that me and Sky both want in who is another X-Men. But it's just so weird. Like, you have so many X-Men characters. So many. No Magneto. Not a Magneto. No Mystique. Even though it feels like those were the two you would definitely put in if you had X-Men. And, like, when I think of, like, oh, what Spider-Man villains would have a cool moveset? So many come to mind. Like, Mysterio would be really cool. Friggin' Lizard would be great. And yet, we're just getting Dr. Octopus and Venom? And don't get me wrong, those are two very strong choices. But it doesn't feel right. It feels like it should be Dr. Octopus, Venom, and either A, Spider-Man gets another hero, like we could see like an Agent Venom or perhaps a Spider-Gwen, or like at least a Green Goblin has a villain. It's just it doesn't sit right with me, and I think it's probably fake. But whether the roster is real or fake, who are some characters we'd like to see in this? Who is on your guys' mind? Who's like the people you need in this game? And then don't do guest characters next yet, because that will be later. I don't care which one of you starts, but one of you has to start.
So, I thought the first ones that I thought of, I'll save the one that you like, for you, because I thought it would be cool too. But the ones that I came up with, that I thought would be kind of interesting. One is a more recent character, which is Kneale, the god of the symbiotes. I think he would be pretty cool to see because we don't seem to have that many like kind of cosmic characters in that game, which would be pretty cool to see. Like he's kind of like the god of the symbiotes, so he's kind of a god, so he's going to be pretty powerful. But he also has like a living sword that's also a symbiote, and he looks badass. Also, Thor and him could have really cool dialogue because Thor's the one who trapped him on the Clintar's homeworld, which is the symbiotes, Clintar the symbiotes. Also, Kneale created the symbiotes, so Venom and him could have really cool dialogue as well. I feel like dialogue would be really cool with Kneale. I think it'd be a cool character to see. Another one would be Psylocke, if you're gonna do X-Men. Because Psylocke's a really cool X-Men, because then he can get psychic powers, and she's a fucking ninja.
Oh yeah.
I put a few of the X-Men. Jubilee, just because fireworks. That's pretty cool. Dazzler was a joke, but that one's pretty funny. Ultron would be cool because Ultron doesn't normally get represented. Adam Warlock, a really powerful character. Ooh, Sentry even. Just thought of that one.
I think Sentry would be a perfect DLC character. Or if they did put Superman in, have a Sentry skin. I think Jubilee could be cool, like for the story, because if the leak's true, Deacon Frost is a Blade villain. Blade's in the story. Jubilee being a vampire connects Blade to the X-Men, and she is currently a vampire in the comics, so that could be cool.
Another big one I liked would be Punisher, just because they've had gun characters in the game before. I think Punisher could be brutal enough to make it interesting.
Pat, I know you also mentioned Punisher. You got anything to say about what you would want from his moveset?
I don't know. See, with him, I feel like it definitely be that kind of along the lines of like a Red Hood type situation.
Yeah.
Except not as athletic.
Yeah. Also, I could see kind of John Wick style.
Mm-hmm.
Going like real up close, kind of gun kata kind of shit. Which is kind of what Red Hood did, but
Hmm.
When
not as.
when I think of Punisher, the first word that comes to mind is brutal. I want,
Mm.
if Punisher is to be in the game, I want him to be very brutal. I want him to be hard hitting. I want him to get in and like just screw up my day. I want him to actively be doing moves that could break other characters' arms. I want him to be the brutalizer of this game. I'm thinking like, I guess if I had to like use a frame of reference, think like the offensive moves of Batman, like the punching moves of Batman, but with like the gunplay of somebody like Black Manta or Red Hood. I think that shit could be really cool. I
Uh,
go ahead.
One more I want to. Well, I guess I got two. You got Nova, which would be cool because then you get another kind of like super like energy
Another
based.
space boy.
Yeah, another space guy. Also, Nova doesn't get as much in like love anymore because they added here's the Nova core. Like, woo, yay! Let's kind of downplay Nova for some reason, even though Nova's actually really fucking cool. And then I thought of Penance. Not a popular character, ironically enough. Wasn't it Speedball he used to be? So you could have some dialogue with some of the heroes. I'm like, you used to be a good guy, dude, and that now you're just some edgy teenager, basically.
He's a speedster, right?
Yeah, he's his ability is he uses kinetic energy, kind of like uh, Gambit, but he can't charge
Mm.
things its own body. He used to like
Hmm.
I believe I think it was Speedball. Is it a Speedball or
Hmm.
Cannonball? I can't remember his name. It was
I
something
think
like that.
it's speedball because in
Because
like
I think
yeah, go ahead.
because I think Cannonball. I think that actually is another character.
I think it
I
is
think it's
too.
I if I recall, the reason he's called Penance is because like, correct me if I'm
you know,
wrong, isn't it like
he's
he did some like hero work that like, it's
mhm.
the beginning of Civil War. He did some hero work that led to like um there being a bunch of fallout and damage,
Huh.
Yeah,
and
it is
like a
something
lot
like
of
that.
good people and maybe even some children passed away because of it. So I think he became Penance because like, he fucked up like big time.
I think I remember hearing at one point, like part of the reason he became Penance as well is because he found out that pain amplifies his abilities. So he wears a suit that's full of like spikes that he drills into himself to make him stronger.
Dang.
That's
That's
brutal, isn't it?
that's some kinky shit.
I think I remember reading that. Actually, I think the first time I saw Penance was also in Ultimate Alliance 2.
So Pat, do you have any characters you want or any move sets you wanna go into with what was said?
Well, I mean, because it was Punisher, but while sitting here, I did think because I know we mentioned, I think he was brought up, but and I think I know how he could work. If you put in Red Hulk,
Uh,
Hmm.
and there's something about Red Hulk that I don't think a lot of people know this, but m m- some bitch he can breathe fire.
yeah.
Yeah, some versions of him, anyway.
So I think that'd be kind of cool to have that in there, just because that'd be like a what the like a holy shit. Like wait a minute, he just blew fire at me.
It it would weird
But
like
he
I
wouldn't just be another. He wouldn't just be another big beefy guy. He at least have something different about him.
I'm imagining like a brute version of the character I'm most thinking about here is Atrocitus. Like,
Mm,
imagine just he could even have that fucking. Oh, this would be perfect for Red Hulk. He could have that thing Jax has in 11, where every time he hits
mm,
somebody, his arms get like red. Because fun fact, he can
mm,
actually like fucking control fire to a degree. Like the
mm,
madder he gets, the hotter he gets, the
mm.
angrier he can like burn. So like a fire version of the Hulk could be really fucking cool. Unfortunately, instead, they are doing Blob, so we will never see it. Is that your only one, my sir, or do you have another?
I mean, the only one I thought of was I mean, I don't know why I thought of him, but Silver Surfer.
Oh, that'd be neat.
He wasn't mentioned. I mean, he'd be another like cosmic character you could put in there.
I think that the roster in general kind of lacks cosmic characters. Like,
Yeah.
I know that we're not gonna get a Galactus, but
No.
friggin' Silver Surfer would be cool. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I remember in the first Injustice game, Hawk Girl could literally just fly. She could just fly around the map. Give that to Silver Surfer. That could be really cool. You could do shit with the board. You could have his teleport. Like, it would be neat if he could, like, put the board up, people run through it, and then they, like, appear on the other side of the board, and you can just attack the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Silver Surfer has some validity. I think you're right. For me, and I'll just say the big one for... Well, I'll start a little small. I think Mysterio could be really neat. I think that he would be great. I think Doctor Strange really should just be in this game. I also sat down, and I was like, of all of the female characters in Marvel, who is the coolest one? Who is the one that would probably be the most badass lady to put into a fighting game? And I kept coming back to this character. I see Storm. I think a lady who can control the weather would be great for a game like this. You got lightning, you got hail, she could freeze people. There's a lot you could do with the character of Storm, and I think that Netherrealms would have a field day with it. I think Storm's great for this. My big character, probably the biggest one I want, and I will briefly talk about this other character because I put them in the picture. If there is going to be any Inhuman character in this game, any, I don't want Black Bolt, I don't want Medusa, I want Lockjaw the dog. I feel like Lockjaw has some cool powers, I think he looks cool, and frankly, I think he's the only good thing about that friggin' Inhumans TV show. The fact that Lockjaw got to be in it, and he got to be a giant dog. Your dogs support this. That's their vote.
They're sweet.
But,
Actually,
but for me, my biggest character, my number one, is Nightcrawler. I think that a character who is solely all about teleporting, who has swords and some cool moves he can do with his tail, who has been trained in weird forms of combat and, like, you know, even could bring some of his circus expertise. Like, if you've seen Nightcrawler fight in the movies or the cartoons, it's a lot of jumping. It's a lot of jumping around people. It's a lot of teleporting to get to, like, weak points. It would be really fun to play those moments. And, like, honestly, of any character, if they were to throw... Like, obviously, Hawkeye's my favorite Marvel character, so of course I want him in the game. But he's a bow and arrow guy, and I feel like that's done a lot in Netherrealms. What was that?
I think Kurt, Nightcrawler, and Hawkeye could have some pretty interesting conversations about the circus.
I can't wait for the dialogue between Lockjaw, where he just sits there, because he's a dog.
And they're just like, oh, aren't you there?
Korg walks up and pets him. Turns out Korg's playable too. That'd be neat. But yeah, I think Nightcrawler for me is number one. I'd like to see Ghost. I'd like to see Mysterio. Mysterio's probably a second for me. Nightcrawler is number one. If you put Nightcrawler in the game, I'm happy. And, like, the moveset writes itself. Because they've always done teleport moves in these games. They've done several different ways of teleporting. What about a character whose whole thing is teleporting? Yeah, they've got the tail. Yeah, they've got the sword. So there's some cool other shit. There's some cool offensive standard attacks you can have. But when it comes to the specials, just bring out that teleport and everyone's happy for days. Anything else to add before we move on to guest characters, because once we move on, we are not going back. So anything else?
Yeah, whenever I was coming up with like characters that would be cool to see in the game, I said Nightcrawler too because I think it'd be cool to see him maybe even use those swords because to be honest, you don't even use them all the time in comics. He got those swords from Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
Deadpool gave them as a gift.
I mean, I'm with you. I would love to see him get in there. I hope he does.
Kind of a Yoda thing with the jumping around, kicking, and screaming kind of thing.
Pat, anything you want to add before we move on? Speak now or forever hold your opinions, I guess.
Forever things.
Let's see. I just had this very random, but if you want a character that can do like a whip like motion, I know who you can put.
Black Cat.
That would be cool, but for the hell of it, and just because I feel like it'd be kind of fun, let's throw in Omega Red. What the hell?
Oh, that could be cool. Whiplash.
I like him. Yeah.
Whiplash would also fit that. I would like just big brawny dudes with whips.
Yeah, because that's what they need to have. Like one of the DLC things be just like a bunch of random characters. Just throw them in there, like random Marvel characters. Like here you go.
Who the fuck is Lucky the Pizza Hound? Wow, they made Phil Coulson playable. Nice. I also think
I wouldn't be. You know what's funny about that? I would not be mad at that. That would be hilarious.
I think I should also bring up that Loki is not playable in this, which feels like a mistake. Loki could do a lot of cool stuff. But we're done talking about the Marvel characters and moving forward to the guest characters, because every Netherealm game has them. I think there's a lot of potential here. I am of the opinion that, like, if this has guest characters, they will probably all be from Disney. So, can Kermit the Frog be playable? Your silence speaks volumes. I am imagining a frog hopping on people and kicking them in the head, although it's also weird to imagine Kermit moving with legs, even though we see it sometimes.
It's always upsetting when we see his legs.
Why are you making fun of my legs? Eat a dick and die. He could have great dialogue with Iron Man, where it's like, who do you think you are? A billionaire, genius, playboy, philanthropist. Who do you think you are? I'm a puppet with a hand up its ass, and I'm gonna kill you. Really, really bad. Jared Little's Joker now, I guess. But if we're being real, the other character that was mentioned as a guest character besides Raiden was Kylo Ren. I think that is a mistake. I think Darth Vader is the better pick from Star Wars. I honestly, if I got my way, there would be 2 Star Wars characters, and it would be Darth Vader and Boba Fett. I think Boba's about to get a show. I think his new design is really cool. And honestly, I do think they still have a little bit of work. Like, even though that Mandalorian episode was so good, I do think they still have a little bit of work to make Boba cool again. Because let's be real, he looks cool, but all he really did was fall in a giant asshole in the sand. Like, there's not much you can do if you're in a giant asshole in the sand. However, that could be his super move. Maybe he, like, wraps you up in a grappling hook, beats you, sets you on fire with his rocket and shit, and then he takes you to the Sarlacc pit.
He puts you in carbonite and takes you to Java.
Oh, that would be really cool if he, like... that gotta be one of his like brutality endings, or if there's like 2 super move options. I don't know. I also think they'll probably change up the gameplay a little because, like, you know, there weren't fatalities in Injustice, but maybe there could be some sort of cool finisher at the end in the same vein as fatalities.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like that, like a superpower.
Then
finisher.
again, I think some of those Injustice finishers is like Batman's. It's like, no, that man's dead. When he literally shoots them with his bat, what the hell that was, his bat plane.
The Batwing.
Yeah, it's like, no, come on, that man's dead.
It's called literal bombs.
Yeah, and then you got like Swamp Thing breaking someone's spine over a stump. It's like, that guy crippled.
Yeah, you had Bane's backbreaker.
Yeah, it's like, come on now.
Supergirl punches people into space.
Yeah.
That too.
I feel
Doomsday punches you through the earth.
Yeah.
You were saying, Bet?
No, yeah, there's just a lot of them where it's like, yeah, you could do brutal stuff with them.
I mean, with Darth Vader.
Face off with his hand.
With Darth Vader, I think, like, I like the sequel trilogy. I think I should just say that now. The sequel trilogy is over. Darth Vader is an iconic character. The sequel trilogy is done. Do Darth Vader because he's like got the longer lifespan. He's gonna be around longer. They're even doing the comics. You mentioned this, Pat. They're doing the comics about Darth Vader right now.
Yeah.
Which is a good tie-in. I mean,
these are good comics too.
If I sat down and had to pick a Disney character, I think if I had to pick a Disney princess, Mulan is the best option. I would love to see Mulan with her sword and her fans getting in fights here. Because she'd have styles that are really cool. There would be some interesting, like, dialogue with characters like Wolverine or Captain America, some of these characters who have had training, and Mulan, or these war veteran characters, where, like, Mulan also fought in a war. What was that?
You know who they put in the game?
Who?
Elsa.
Don't say that. It will happen.
Hey man, you gotta let it go.
I mean, I think Disney villains are also an option here, which, if I got to choose a Disney villain, Dr. Facilier would be really cool. Hades could be fun. I think those are the, like, 2 ones I'd immediately go to. Do you guys have any guest characters you're thinking of besides Elsa?
It would be kind of funny if they put Hercules from the Disney shows, like the Disney movie, in there, because Hercules is also a character in Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think that. I mean,
that's my problem with putting in Hercules characters.
I mean, it would be funny where they're like, Hercules, you look different, and he'd be like, what?
Yeah, but you're not Hercules. It's like, yes, I am. No, you're not.
Who the fuck you are?
No, it's like, especially with Thor, it's like, I know Hercules. You're not him. Yes, I know you're not.
I can go.
How dare you?
Do you think you're strong as the Hercules I have fought? I can go the distance. We will see if that's true.
See, I feel like if you put Hercules in there, one of his super things would just be him just like out of nowhere, just grabbing like a huge pillar and just smashing them with it.
Oh yeah.
Or him like swinging them around and throwing them into it, like through a bunch of them.
And the finale has, like, his super move needs to be like the gods getting involved, like Zeus comes in and stuff. I think Hercules could be really fun. I think that's a great Disney character. Honestly, I thought Aladdin could be cool, and then Aladdin's super is, I wish that you'll fight for me, Genie. And then the super is Genie just beats the fuck out of you. And it ends with, you've never had a friend like me. And just, you're in the fireworks show during that. That would be great. Once again,
Mhm.
I do think there's some validity to the idea that the guest characters could be Disney characters. Like, I think Aladdin
Mhm.
would be cool. I think Mulan would be great. Like, Mulan can even have projectiles because she has Mushu.
Uh,
And anybody got any more? Pat, hit me in the dick with them.
I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I mean, like for Star Wars, obviously, yeah,
Or
Darth Vader. But my other thoughts were why we saw this on a list we looked at. But Ahsoka Tano, I think would make sense.
That'd be cool.
One other one I thought of was like you could put Darth Maul in there.
If Jack Sparrow gets in,
yeah.
they have to reference the ride with one of his finishers being he locks you in a
Uh-huh.
prison cell, and then your character is reaching out to the dog to get the key.
You know what they have to reference though if they have him in there.
It's a jar of dirt.
He's got he's got to hit someone with a jar of dirt. Got to do it.
I mean, having a swashbuckling pirate character could be fun, and since like Jack's always drunk, you could theoretically throw some Bo Raicho in there.
There are a few pirates in Marvel, ironically enough.
There's some pirates.
There was Captain Bluebeard as well, who ironically showed up in a Moon Knight comic that I own.
I believe Deadpool was briefly a pirate, so there could be dialogue about that too. I also want Deadpool to like actively make fun of people for not being like voiced by the people from the MCU. Or like just the movies in general. He walks up to like Captain Jack Sparrow, and Jack goes, "It is I, Captain Jack Sparrow." And Deadpool's like, "No, that's not Johnny Depp doing the voice." These words you speak are strange.
Even funnier if like they did that and it's like or like Deadpool goes, what the hell? I can't remember the name of the guy who normally voices Jack Sparrow because there is like a go-to guy.
I can't remember it either.
But like Deadpool goes, okay, whatever. Then he says the voice actor's first name. It's like, you're no Johnny Depp.
I think it'd be funny seeing Deadpool breaking the fourth wall in the game. And like most of those games, it's like showing the one character going back to the other character and then showing that character. What if Deadpool like walks up into the other person's side of the screen and is like in their thing while they're talking?
You know how in Injustice 2, some of the DLC dialogue exchanges aren't great because that was after like the original characters, like their voice actors had already left for other projects and stuff, so they couldn't come back to re-record dialogue. I would love it if Deadpool's for that was literally like, let's say there's a scene where he's talking to like Dr. Facilier, and Dr. Facilier is like, the cards hold your future, Wade Wilson. And then Deadpool replies, sorry, my voice actor didn't come back for more dialogue. Let's fight. Strange words indeed. I don't know. I feel like there are obviously some live action characters like Jack Sparrow who fit. I think Indiana Jones would be cool. Your fucking whip character. There it is, Skylar. It's not a sexy cat lady anymore, but you know, he could do a whiptail. You don't know.
That's Harry Ferrari.
That's Harry Ferrari. Joey, why aren't you here? I'm getting beat up by Kermit the Frog.
Is that Thor? God of Thunder?
Why does he have a hammer? I think that like
go back to work, Carpenter.
With the DLC, like I think not even kidding. Sentry is just a perfect character to be DLC because for one, he will have moves that are kind of similar to Superman. For two, I feel like he wouldn't probably like affect the story much. Like if you have him in the story, most of your problems are solved because he has the power of Superman. But also he can have cool dialogue. He can say fun things with Hulk. I think Sentry would be great for DLC. And when I think of other characters, when I'm like, who would be good DLC? It occurs to me that there aren't a lot of Spider-Man villains in this, and maybe that's because they didn't want to put the X-Men behind a paywall, like what Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite did, kinda to their detriment. So I think what you do there is if you put like characters like Electro or Lizard or Mysterio has the DLC. That's a super recognizable character that everybody will want, but also it's okay if they're not part of the main roster.
I think Goblin would be fun.
Green Goblin would be cool. He could, like, if not Silver Surfer, he could do that fly move we were talking about.
Or even make it Ultimate Green Goblin, where he's the big fucking huge dude.
I don't want any Mortal Kombat characters in this, and for God's sake, I don't want Batman. It would just be Batman from Injustice, and while it would be cool, like, that dialogue alone is almost worth it to hear Batman talk to all these Marvel characters. But I don't want it, because if I want to play as Batman, I can play Injustice. I don't need to do... Like, that's my problem with Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Raiden. I get one. If you want to put one Mortal Kombat in there, that's fine. But if you're going to put somebody from Mortal Kombat into a Marvel game, I don't really want Raiden. Why not put in, like, I don't know, a Johnny Cage? Why not put in Scorpion?
Put in Liu Kang, and then give him a Shang-Chi skin.
That could be cool. No, Shang-Chi should just be in the game by himself, though. I think Shang-Chi would be cooler than Liu Kang. If I'm being real.
Yeah. Or Iron Fist, even. That'd be kind of cool.
Do we have anything else to say about this fighting game before we move on to just talking about hopes for, like, Marvel in the future and MCU in the future? That part can be a little shorter, but do we have anything else we want to say about the fighting game before we move on?
I feel like things will punch people in it.
Are you confident in that?
I don't know, I'm pretty confident.
Pat, anything to add?
I think people will be probably thrown through walls and other objects. That's just a guess.
I think they're all gonna kiss.
Yes.
And I
Then
think
we'll have the secret orgy ending cutscene.
Yes. Weekend fucks everybody.
Well, speaking of fucking, specifically between Rocket Raccoon and Hawkeye,
Yes.
what do you want out of the future of the MCU? And I hear Skylar, there's some slight mic issues with you. You might want to unplug and plug back in. But what are some characters we want to see? I guess everybody do this real fast. This is kind of the end. What are some characters you want to see? What do you want from What If? What are just some things you hope happens in the future of the MCU? I personally, like, with What If, I want to see what if Thor killed what if Hawkeye killed Thor? I just said Hawkeye. What if Hawkeye killed Thor? I think that's a neat idea, especially if Hawkeye ends up being worthy. That could be cool. Characters I would like to see down the line, I want to see Gwenpool, I want to see Beta Ray Bill, and I want to see fucking Nightcrawler, too. I want to see more X-Men characters as well. I feel like with the Hawkeye show, there are so many things they could do. So many things I know about the comic they're adapting. That if they just show me this is going to be in the show, in the trailer, I'll be happy by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Also, put Owen Wilson on a goddamn jet ski. What do you think, Pat? Well, what are some of your hopes?
I I don't know. In regards to what if, I think I just want I just want it to be. I I don't know. I almost want it to be just as. I guess some of the episodes just to be as wacky as possible. You just go nuts.
It kind of seems like they're going that way because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get a chance to show you this. Friggin', I know we were reading through that list where we found that like a lot of the comic books are what if Aunt May did something. Like it's what if Aunt May was Spider-Man? What if Aunt May was Galactus? What if Aunt May was Neil Burris, actual white human American? But like one of the figures is literally just Nebula with hair and without all her tech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if one of the episodes is literally what if Nebula had blonde hair?
And like characters I want to see, I don't know. I mean, Deadpool is obvious.
Fin
We know
Fang
we're
Foom.
getting. Yeah.
Fin Fang Foom.
I still stick by this. I want to see Red Hulk in some form.
I
I
hope
think
so
we're gonna
much.
get him.
I hope so much we get Red Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Werewolf Cap.
Yes, we are going down that somewhat storyline.
And also, real quick, I just want. I mean, I know. Actually, I know it's cheesy, but I want that moment once all the characters are kind of introduced, so the ones that we know are coming. I want that lineup moment, where they're all together. Because I don't care what anyone says; those are always exciting for me when they do that shit.
I feel you. I need another scene like what happened at the Avengers party in Age of Ultron, where everybody is just hanging out. Like I would love to just watch, like for example, Rocket Raccoon have a conversation with She-Hulk. I think that would be really cool. I would love to hear like a character like Thor. What does Thor think about Miss Marvel and her stretchy powers? I feel like there's some cool paths to take. And what would Doctor Strange have to say to Loki after the events of the TV show? Like, there's some great dialogue here that I am clamoring to get my hands on, and I'm very excited for the future. Sky, you got anything to add?
They better not fuck up Moon Knight. That's what I gotta say. Also, I feel like if they do add in Deadpool, I think, but they are eventually. I think Deadpool is going to make sense in the world. I don't want him to just. I mean, yeah, Deadpool kind of is like his own side thing, but also there's got to be like somebody that like makes sense of that. There's gonna have to be some sort of a reference because almost every Marvel movie, like all of the MCU movies, has somehow at least tied into another. And I feel like having just Deadpool just running around in the backgrounds kind of wouldn't make sense in the MCU, given how they've built it so far. I feel like having him show up as a plot point would be kind of cool. Or like as cameos even. Like just put him in the cameos, that'd be funny. I know certain people would love him as the cameo guy from now on. Yeah,
I'd adore that. If like Ryan Reynolds just shows up once per every Marvel movie somewhere, or it's just Deadpool like Where's Waldo style in the background.
He literally wears the Where's Waldo outfit in one of them.
I would fucking love that. I think that the future looks pretty bright. Like whenever people would be, what was that?
Where's Wado?
Where's Wado? Whenever people would say like Infinity War and Endgame is where I'm getting off the Marvel train, I would always get a little sad because I kind of know, like now after the events of Loki, which I will not spoil because Skylar still hasn't seen the last 2 episodes, we know where some of the future is headed, and I am so excited. I am pumped because I know some of these things. I have seen some of these plot points, and I know where some of this goes. I don't know where all of it goes, because the great thing about Marvel is they do change stuff up and they make it even better. But I am so pumped for the future. Is there anything else we want to say before we end the video?
Boobs. There you go.
God bless you, Hawkeye. Well, thank you everybody for watching. If you want to check out these fine people, go to the description where you can find their Twitch. And Hawkeye Month is still happening. This was definitely part of it. But in the future, we will be doing even more Hawkeye shit. So thank you all for watching. And, you know, who wants to add the last word of the stream? Fuck. Everybody say fuck. Fuck.
Fuck.
Fuck, 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 fuck. Fuck, 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 fuck.